Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be talking about a Red Guardian and all of the new information that we can draw out of the deep dive that has been done and posted on Marvel Concept Champions official YouTube channel. And finally we get to kind of like break away from the streak of negativity that we have had surrounding Kabam and all of the things happening in the game, and maybe focus on a little ray of sunshine. And this ray of sunshine obviously is the Red Guardian himself. Now I do personally believe that Red Guardian will be almost unquestionably the best champion released so far in 2020, and I'm not making this video to try and hype him up. Quite opposite. If you have been following my channel, then I always do my best to be as cautious and as realistic about a champion's role, for instance, in the game and its overall value. But so far, even though I clearly do see plenty of flaws with Red Guardian, which I'm going to discuss later in the video, I do see a lot of positives and I do see a lot of benefits in having Red Guardian. So first and foremost, let's just switch out the scenes, and here we can see the first kind of like screenshot from the video. This is kind of showcasing simply Red Guardian in the fight against Dormammu. Why it is important? Because Red Guardian has potentially one of the most unique passive abilities, which basically prevents him from gaining buffs. Now, it might sound like it's a negative at the first glance, but it actually is a huge advantage. And now, if I jump the screen one more time for a second, we can see the first four kind of like points noted down on the left side. So he is automatically made an ideal counter for Spite, which is still a huge problem node, especially if you are frequently playing, for instance, Alliance War and deal with Path 4. There is Spite aspect of War, and that lane is going to be kind of perfect for Red Guardian overall, because he can deal with aspect of War, he can deal with Unblockable, he cannot gain buffs, therefore he will ignore Spite. Also, we see Spite in pretty much every single chapter of Act 6, I believe, or at least some select fights, so that automatically makes him at least occasionally valuable and useful for Act 6 clearance. But all in all, he will have a lot of great use, and that is what I'm going to try and kind of like demonstrate in today's video. So also the ability not to gain buffs ever under any circumstance include the buff from Dexterity. That will make him pretty much one of the best counters for big stacked Dormammus, because you will not have to worry about accidentally triggering Dex, so on and so forth. Also, that completely shuts down Mojo's abilities and his ability to put hater buffs on you or punish you whenever you do happen to trigger Dex as well. So unsurprisingly, Mojo already has pretty much a perfect counter here in the Red Guardian, because yeah, you will simply not get degen when facing Mojo. Now also, there are plenty other annoying nodes that do punish you from getting buffs, and for instance, the best example I could come up with on the spot would be Pilfer. Pilfer is absolutely littered pretty much everywhere in variant 1, which is still one of the hardest variants and many people haven't explored, and it just so happened that he's a science champion. Pilfers are mainly kind of like prevalent in this chapter 3, which is for science and cosmic champions, and he will absolutely be able to shred through variant 1 with his skill set by ignoring Pilfer, thus making the global node absolutely non-existent. Additionally, many of the variants' hardest fights are the ones where you have to deal with unstoppable or unblockable opponents, or just big Spideys evading, so on and so forth. So he has everything going for him to clear variant. Additionally, when it comes to Alliance War attack, obviously Mystic Dispersion has not been as dominant as it once was, but still is a factor to keep in mind, and still triggers upon your Dexterity buffs expiring, so on and so forth. And he has nothing to worry about there as well, so he will pretty much automatically be kind of like a great target for Mystic Dispersion and Mystic Champions in Alliance War. Additionally, he's going to be great for buffet nodes, because buffet obviously cannot trigger if you cannot gain any buffs, so on and so forth. So he will immediately, instantly, day one as he comes out, already kind of like a large guaranteed use in the game when it comes to Alliance War attack, when it comes to variants, when it comes to Act 6. So that alone makes him valuable and viable and desirable to acquire. So again, I'm not trying to hype him up more than I believe his worth will be, but he is one of the few champions released this year where I can immediately tell you he will have applicable endgame uses. As well, he's gonna have a lot of great matchups that have been kind of like problem for many players, and he's one of the kind of like great solutions there. For instance, he has slow debuff that he is able to access very easily and arguably maintain effortlessly, because the slow lasts 12 seconds. You do not have to continuously land heavy attacks to maintain it, because you can just end up spamming level 1s. Therefore, it will be easier to maintain than, let's say, Spider-Gwen's and She-Hulk slow. It will certainly be a lot easier to maintain than Stealth Suit Spider-Man's slow, because you do not have to like land a full combo clean, and that will make him great for a lot of problem content in contest currently, because slow debuff is one of the most valuable debuffs to have, and I would argue that he has one of the easier ways to access and maintain it for the duration of the fight, similarly to Sorcerer Supreme, who I believe currently probably has the easiest way to apply slows. However, Sorcerer Supreme is a Mystic champion and she cannot slow Science champions, and Science champions are often the ones that you want to slow. So arguably I could put forward an argument that he will have kind of like the best easily accessible and maintainable slow debuff. Only thing you have to do is make your way to a level 1, or if you're an Alliance War, just use a special start 1 boost, and that's it. From the beginning of the fight, you have slow debuff, you have no problems keeping up for the entire fight, even if you cannot utilize his heavy attack playstyle. Now, Aspect of War is kind of like perfect counter node for Red Guardian, or should I say Red Guardian is the perfect counter node for Aspect of War, because slow deals with passive unstoppable, unlike for instance Captain America Infinity War, and also his ability to block unblockable attacks, which your opponents who have Aspect of War node eventually will become. He's able to deal with all of it, so he's going to be arguably one of top 3 counters for Aspect of War node in general, wherever you see it in the game. Now, basic evaders, auto blockers, obviously all will crumble before his slow debuff as well. Even if you cannot kind of like, let's say, parry stun them, again, you can still manage to easily get from level 1 to level 1. Yes, you will sacrifice part of your damage by not being able to get to your level 2s or refresh the debuffs with heavy attack, but you will still have more than enough time to reapply that slow with the level 1, therefore that will immediately make him useful. Also, his parry heavy playstyle obviously has his downsides, but additionally his tankiness and the fact that you will achieve a lot just by dropping your heavy attacks, not unlike Captain America Infinity War, will mean that he is great for stuff like Mixmaster, because slow prevents opponents from waiting, and you also have no real problem in kind of alternating your attack patterns, going by medium heavy, especially with his huge block proficiency. And also Tunnel Vision is very friendly typically for champions who rely on like heavy parry heavy playstyle. So he's gonna be inherently quite useful for a lot of higher endgame content, because we see these nodes consistently in Act 6 and Map 7, so on and so forth. Lastly, he also has extremely high perfect block chance if his shield is in good shape, and that will mean that he will also be able to pretty much bypass Limber, and then via utilizing this parry heavy playstyle, you will be kind of like perfectly safe to go with your game plan, even if Limber is active there. So that's also something to keep in mind, that Limber is one of those subtle annoying nodes ever present in a contest. Right, all that being said, and this is before talking about his damage or any other quirky abilities that he does have. So let's jump back to the scenes here. So we discussed that he's going to be fantastic against Dormammu's, because he cannot gain buffs. He's going to be also fantastic against unblockable hits and unblockable opponents, so he's gonna give you that added kind of like guarantee of safety. And in a case where you, let's say, technically quote unquote mess up, but this actually might be something you want to do on purpose, is try and block an unblockable hit, and you immediately get a stun on your opponent, thus giving you an opening and a burst of damage, because his level 2 does hit quite hard. So again, one of the most kind of like consistent problems in Marvel Construct champions, alongside champions who evade, alongside champions who auto block, are the champions who are unblockable, and especially if there's nothing you can really do about it or get cornered. So this is going to be one of those player-friendly champions that will just so happen to save you, and instead of you being disadvantaged, you will get an extra opening kind of like because you messed up, and you will get this trauma debuff, which will give you access to a whole lot of extra damage, and you're going to be able to land your heavies, so on and so forth. So yeah, so far so good. We can see that he actually has a very hard hitting level 2, and I think in his damage output overall he's gonna be somewhat similar to, let's say, Captain America Infinity War, where he can deal a lot of damage per hit. Maybe it is not going to end up resulting in, let's say, a lot of damage per second, which is ultimately the main thing that matters, because I do not think his damage output in medium level fights is going to be extraordinary. Now, if you are able to get in longer fight where you are actually able to stack up multiples of these trauma debuffs, then his damage can go through the roof, and he potentially has this ramp up aspect as well. So I think he's going to have very solid base damage per hit from the very get-go in the fight, while his heavy attacks and the attack increase he gets on heavy attacks per debuff on opponent, but he's going to also have very decent amount of this so-called ramp-up damage, and that pretty much screams use me in Abyss of Legends, because he has superbly high block proficiency. Abyss of Legends can support parry heavy playstyle in vast majority of the matchups, and in many Mystic matchups he's going to have the advantage of never gaining buffs, and yeah, he's going to have ability to ramp up his damage to a very kind of like solid amount, and that will make him actually viable in Abyss in some tricky fights as well. So here we can see that this level 2 with the single trauma debuff is inflicting 39k on crit, and this is without suicide masteries on like rank 3 6 star I presume, and like 27k extra energy damage, which also like adds for a lot of his damage whilst this trauma debuff is active, because that is gonna deal this 70% extra damage for every hit, not just this special attack. So as we can see here, opponent is stunned, and within that stun you can comfortably land a heavy attack, deal damage. Trauma debuff is going to deal more damage, and you can be able to refresh this trauma debuff and probably land another heavy attack and be close to level 2, because surprise, he has increased power gain while slow is active. So it all kind of comes together relatively comfortably. And here we can see some other damage examples. I believe this was from a single heavy attack or maybe a level 2, but again, with 2 trauma debuffs you actually end up dealing 140% of your original kind of like damage dealt per hit. So you pretty much deal more than twice the damage you normally would, in that special 2 hits relatively hard as well. Here's 3 trauma debuffs, crit for 16k and 33k extra damage. Then we have this Juggernaut fight where he's a bit juiced up with Mr. Fantastic synergies, which is another thing that I do like. I do enjoy that he synergizes and goes together extremely well with Mr. Fantastic, who I think is overall underutilized champion. So I'm definitely gonna have fun if I ever get Red Guardian playing around with those synergy setups. Here he's going for level 2, hitting for 47k and dealing 66k extra damage with 2 trauma debuffs active, so that's basically level 2 for well over 100k there. Now that damage isn't like completely off the charts, but combined with all of the innate utility that he is going to have, it's definitely solid enough damage output to certainly keep him viable. Now obviously there are inherent weaknesses. He relies on being able to debuff opponents, so in debuff immune matchups he's going to be close to useless, but that can be said for many champions. It is definitely a downside that we do need to keep in mind. So nodes like rapid metabolism or tenacity will significantly hinder this champion. Unfortunately, they are becoming more and more popular in Act 6 as well. So that simply kind of like demonstrates Kabam's ability to shut him down whenever they want, just like they can do with Ghost and Armor Breaks, just like they can do with Quake and True Strike. There are these things that you do need to kind of like keep in mind, and whenever you can see any node that lets opponents shrug off debuffs, makes them debuff immune, or has the debuff expiring quickly, or if you are facing champions like, I don't know, Groot and Rogue, who just gets rid of these debuffs also at an increased pace, then definitely it's not going to be the matches for him, which is perfectly reasonable, because every champion, every single champion has bad matchups, bad nodes. But at the same time, from what we have in the game currently, without giving the benefit of the doubt that he will also be useful for future content, I would say that he has a right to make a claim that he probably will be within one of the 5 or 10 most sought after characters in the game till end of this year, whilst we have people clearing Act 6, whilst we have people dealing with variants, because his playstyle, his tankiness, his powerful slow debuff and decent damage ramp up effectively, unfortunately, kind of must say, aside from being able to cheese stuff like Aggression Region, he does look like modified, improved version of Captain America Infinity War, and we all know how well Captain America Infinity War has maintained his value throughout Alliance War, throughout Act 6, so on and so forth. So he's a champion that could potentially kind of like take his place, or at least be step above Captain America Infinity War in the game right now. And that is obviously bittersweet because we all like our captains, so on and so forth. And again, I do not try to overhype a character, I do not try to oversell a character, but I wanted to say my mind, say my piece. I'm definitely very, very interested in acquiring this champion. This would be one of the, if not only champion released this year that I would be kind of like willing to rank up even as a 5-star. I'm trying to move away from ranking up 5-star champions, and that's not something I want or plan to do. But the moment I get this guy as a 5-star, I will try to max him out, take him up with to SIG 200 and have him at my disposal, because I think he offers a unique perspective, unique bits of utility pretty much nobody else in the game does right now, and I have a feeling it's going to be important. So yeah, everybody better get ready. Start saving your 5-star shards, start saving your 6-star shards, start saving your units for Cavalier Crystals, because if there is an ever released champion to go for this year, and this is going to be like 10th champion released, this is the one that I endorse. This is the one I think will make the most and the biggest impact in the game in general, and arguably for your account specifically. So get ready, because Red Guardian is coming. All that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit all the buttons, and for that I shall show you Baby Yoda spitting out a frog. You know what that frog is? That frog is Black Widow Deadly Origins. Now that Red Guardian is coming, spit that lady out and prepare for the real hero to arrive. Alright, if you didn't like this video or the cheesy ending of it, then you're welcome to show yourselves out. All that being said, I'm done for today. Hope you guys liked the video, and yeah, no, well, that's about it. Just like it, hit the like button, hit the share button, let your alliance mates know Red Guardian's coming. See ya.